Hello, this is Florence and I am back today to show you how to make chocolate mousse, la mousse au chocolat, which is another one of my very favorite French recipes. So the chocolate mousse is really not that difficult. There's only a few things that can go wrong, and instead of having a mousse you're going to end up having a cream, which is not necessarily bad. Then it's a chocolate cream, not a chocolate mousse. It will taste very good, but it won't be the moussey kind of airy consistency that you're looking for when you make a chocolate mousse. So I'm going to give you a few little tips to make sure that you do get a mousse, not a cream. And we're going to start with the chocolate. I'm basing myself on a French recipe which works with grams, and normally the chocolate comes in a bar of 200 grams. So I'm actually going to use two baker's chocolate bars, which are a little bit more than actually 200 grams altogether, but it's only a little bit more, and there's really no such thing as too much chocolate. So what I do actually like to do is mix different types of the baker's chocolate. I have this one which is 56% cocoa, and also this other one which is 100% cocoa. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a mix of my two bars, but I'm going to mix a little bit of the unsweetened with the 56%, just because I like it when the mousse tastes a little bit more like stronger in the chocolate taste. So if you put just two of these, it's going to be very nice, but it's going to be more sweet than chocolatey, and I prefer it to be a little bit more chocolatey than sweet. So that's something that you can obviously do whichever way you like. If you like it more sweet, you can have this one. There's even I think it's called Dutch chocolate, which has a little bit less cocoa, so it's even sweeter. So you can just choose whatever you want to do for your chocolate mousse. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix my bars. So this one is going to be in there full, because this one I do want in full, so that's fairly simple. You can cut it in a little bit. You put it in a little glass container, because this is going to go in the microwave. I also forgot to mention the other things that I have a big bowl here that's going to be for my egg whites. This is going to be for the chocolate egg yolk milk, and that's the only ingredients that you need actually, is 200 grams of chocolate and 6 eggs. So I'm going to carry on with my chocolate mix. So I'm going to want to put probably a third to a half of this one, because altogether, yeah, I'm going to put a half, so it's kind of nice and chocolatey. And then I'm going to put the other half of this one, so I have my correct amount of chocolate. There you go. And when you actually look, you can see that this is the 56%. It's a kind of a brownish color, and this one is a much darker brown color. I don't recommend to put just 100% chocolate in there, just because my recipe doesn't have any sugar. So if you put 100% cocoa, you're going to have a chocolate mousse that's really not sweet at all, which is not very good in my opinion. So this is my leftover chocolate, which I will leave here for now. And what I do here, I'm going to grab a spoon. Forgot to get it out. There you go. And you put a little bit of water in there to help it melt. So I put 4 spoonfuls of water, just straight from the tap. You can use filtered water if you want to, but it's not necessary. Just make it a little bit more, because I missed one of the spoons. And then what I do, I'm going to put this in the microwave. For this amount, I always like to start slowly to just be sure that I don't overcook the chocolate to melt it. So I'm going to start putting it for about 30 seconds. I'm going to see what it looks like, and then I'm going to stir it a little bit, and then I'm going to carry on. So let's put that in the microwave. And 30 seconds. So here we go, I'm back. So here we go, I'm back. In the meantime, I'm gonna start opening my eggs. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna separate the whites from the yolk. And that's the part that's very important. when you separate the whites from the yolk, you want to be very, very careful that you don't put any yolk in the whites, because you're going to want to whisk the whites very thick afterwards, and really any other element in the whites is going to stop it from really becoming what makes the mousse a mousse. So you want to be very careful when you open your eggs that nothing, no little bit of yolk falls in the white. So I'm just going to do this. I use both my hands to do this. Some people like to do it with one hand. I'm not that skilled, so, but I do want to make sure. So if I see that a yolk starts breaking, which is what just happened, it's better to actually waste a little bit of the white in the yolk, because that doesn't matter. But you really, as I said again, don't want any yolk to fall into the white. So as soon as you see that the yolk has broken from, you know, changing sides, you want to get it away from the white area. So that's 2 eggs. I heard that the microwave is finished, so I'm actually going to stop here for now and double check what's going on with the chocolate. Okay, so what we have here, so the top here is still hard, the bottom here is kind of good, the bottom part there is okay, so I'm going to mix it a little bit, kind of switch it around. Okay, what you don't want to do here is put it too much in the microwave that the chocolate actually starts cooking. So that's something that you really don't want to do. Okay, so that's pretty good. Make sure that all the chocolate goes there. And I'm going to put it back for another 30 seconds. And I'm going to carry on with my eggs. Here we go. 3 more. So it's 6 eggs and 200 grams of chocolate, or in my case a little bit more chocolate. And before I finish the last egg, I'm going to quickly grab my chocolate, because you need to let it cool down a little bit. So let's see how it is. I'm taking it from the top because it's glass, so it gets hot actually. So here, so what's happening here, we have a little bit that's still a little bit hard here. I'm going to mix it though, because sometimes when you mix it, it actually helps melting whatever is left. So, I'm sorry, my cat is saying hello. Hello. So there's one little bit here. I'm not actually sure that it's gonna keep melting on its own. Let me see. Still, I think it's getting there. Yeah. That's it. So by just stirring it together, so the chocolate is now melted. I'm going to close the microwave. So what you want to get is something that looks like this. So right now it's too hot to mix with the yolk, so I'm going to give it a little bit. I'm going to keep stirring it. But you see that it's kind of, it mixes with the water and it makes this kind of paste, which seems almost a little bit dry, but that's good. That's how it should be. And this is much easier to get when you use baker's chocolate or real like cooking chocolate. Don't buy just a normal chocolate bar that's normally to eat, because you don't get the consistency that you want from the chocolate. So I'm going to leave that to cool down a little bit while I finish with the eggs. There we go. Okay, I'm leaving it here. I'm going to do my last egg. There we go. So in a minute, when the chocolate has cooled down a little bit, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix it with my yolks that are here. You don't want to mix the chocolate right away when it's right out of the microwave. There's another way to melt chocolate also, which is called bain-marie in French, where you put the hot water in a pan and then you put another pan with the chocolate in it and mix it until it melts. So same thing, at that point it's too hot to mix with the yolks. What happens is that if you mix it right now when it's just out of being melted, it might cook the yolks, so you're going to have little bits, and you don't want that to happen, so you want to wait a little bit. So in the meantime, what we're going to do, we're going to grab the whites and we're going to whisk them with an electric whisk. It's one of those things, okay? And so this is where a lot of people go wrong, and also sometimes the quality of the eggs might mean that, you know, sometimes they were too warm or something like that. The egg white might not work properly, but as a rule it works. I normally just get my eggs out as I prepare the ingredients, so they don't stay out for too long. We live in South Florida. It's hot in the house. We don't really use AC a lot, so right now it's probably about 78 in the house. So my eggs have been out now for probably about 10 minutes. I've never really had any problems, but sometimes this is the part that goes wrong. So if you absolutely want a mousse, and if you see that your eggs don't actually don't actually grow as a sort of snowy white fluffy kind of mix, you might want to sacrifice new eggs and then, you know, find something to do with the yolks. But normally the key to get the egg whites right is the length that you're going to beat them. And some people tend to think, oh well, I must be done, but it actually takes quite a little while to do it. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to let the camera run. I'm sorry for the noise, but that way you can see how long it really takes to have the whites the way you want them. So let me plug this in. Okay, so I go directly to the highest speed, and then I'm going to just keep going up until they're ready, in my opinion. So in France, sometimes we say that you should be able to put a coin on top of the egg white, and if the coin stays, they're ready. Or also, the other thing is that you're supposed to be able to turn the bowl over, and the eggs should stay there. I have not tested that, but as I say, normally my chocolate mousse is good. By the time I look at it, I can tell whether it's good or not. So I'm not going to interrupt the process too much because I don't think it's very good for it, but when you start, your eggs are kind of like this. They start becoming fluffy, but still very liquid. So this point is a bit tricky because this is where the eggs start looking like what they should look like, but see they're moving a lot. When I lean the bowl, they kind of move back, they slide. So this is where a lot of people go wrong, because it looks like they're ready, but they're not. So you want to actually carry on. Right, so this time I think we're good. So as you can see now, I think I could probably put it upside down and they would stay there, but I'm not going to try because I do want my guests to have their chocolate mousse. So this is how it is. It doesn't really move. You see it's very firm, and that's really how you want to have your egg whites. Okay, so now we're done with the whisk, so we can get rid of this, and at this point the chocolate should be ready. And get rid of this, and at this point the chocolate should be ready to mix. You don't want to wait too long because then the chocolate gets too hard. So here it's good, it's okay to mix. So you have to mix it together with your egg yolk. So I'm going to do that. It's good if you don't waste too much because it doesn't stick too much to the glass. You can actually really remove it. And you want to mix it well, so sometimes I use a mix of a spoon and the whisk. Not the electric whisk though. I just mix it together with the egg yolk. It's going to become a much like liquidy kind of mix, like between a paste and a liquid really. So we just mix all that together properly. There you go. So it's starting to get there. I'll just show it to you after a little bit better. So you want it to be fairly smooth because otherwise you're going to end up having little bits of chocolate in the mousse, which is not necessarily bad, but technically a good chocolate mousse should really not have bits. It would be kind of like having a chocolate chip chocolate mousse, which is good. you know, I don't mind. But then it would be a kind of not a real chocolate mousse. So you want to be sure that it's well mixed without too many bits. So this takes a little while, but it's okay. So it's not quite ready, but I'm gonna show you a little bit what it looks like. So it's getting there at this point. I just want to finish mixing it well so the chocolate is really well smoothed in to the mix. So that's actually, I think, pretty good at this point. So there we are. Just going to remove the bits from the whisk. The disadvantage of using the whisk is that it's a little bit hard to get the chocolate mix out afterwards, and I really don't like to waste anything that has chocolate in it. It seems like a real shame. So I just make sure that I get everything I can out with the spoon. But the whisk is really better to mix properly and to make sure you don't have little bits, and it really keeps your mix much smoother. So I recommend using the whisk. I think it's better. Okay. So I think that's pretty much as good as it will get. And there we are. So here we have our nice smooth chocolate mix now. Okay, it's very nice and smooth. Okay, and that's going to be the base for our chocolate mousse. And so this now is the second part where people can go wrong. And this is how you're going to add the egg white into that mix. And in French we call it casser les blancs, or break the whites. So apparently there's such a thing as if you go too fast and kind of like mix it really fast in there, you're going to lose the mousse aspect of your dish. So you want to go slowly. So this takes also a little while, but you really want to concentrate and do it properly so that you don't actually break the whites and make a cream as opposed to a mousse. So normally I start with about 2/3 of the egg white, and so I just break them inside, and that's, there we go. That's the first part. And actually I normally use a bigger bowl to do this, so I'm probably going to switch afterwards. So what I do in order to make sure that I don't break the whites, I just grab the chocolate from underneath and I kind of like put it on top, and then I do it on the other side. So I go like this. So at first it seems like you're really not going anywhere, but you are in reality. And you do want to go slowly like this. At least that's the way I do, and I've been doing the same way for a long time, and I've really never missed a chocolate mousse. So I'm not sure pastry chefs do it this way. Maybe they have a better method that's maybe faster or more efficient, I don't know. But this definitely works. So you want to keep going, and it's slowly mixing, so the egg whites are slowly turning brown, which is a good sign. You also want to make sure that everything comes out of the spoon, because the part that's in the spoon is thicker. So as you go along, you want to kind of make sure it's all cleaned out of the spoon, and that way you can keep mixing all of it. And so you keep going around. And So this is coming along nicely, slowly. So at the very end, when we're done with this, what happens is that your mix will have little bits of egg white that are not completely mixed in. So what I normally do is I just go against the side of the bowl and I just flatten it, so that you don't have little bits of white when it cools down. If the whites are not well mixed, what's going to happen in your chocolate mousse is that you're going to go in with a spoon and you're going to find this little bit of white, which is not mixed with it. It's not, you know, again, it's your live, but if you have some important people for dinner and you want to impress them, it's better not to have the little white bits inside. So at this point, I'm taking out some of the bigger lumps of white right now. So the way I'm doing this is kind of by going on the side like this. That's for the bigger ones. For now, I want to smooth the cream a little bit better for that, or the mousse at this point. So it's not completely mixed, but I have the second part to add, so I'm gonna keep doing that. So you see there's still little bits here, but I'm gonna get rid of that afterwards when I've added the rest. So here I'm gonna add what's left. You see they're really not coming off. That's how strong you want them. So you have to actually use the spoon to get the whites out of the bowl, which is exactly how they should be. Notice that I did go upside down, but above my bowl, because I really don't want to take that risk. All right. And we do exactly the same way, where you go from the bottom to cover the egg white at the top. Keep mixing. It's getting there. It's getting there. And it looks like it's very fluffy. You see that the mix is, it's kind of difficult to describe at the beginning, because it's actually, it looks bigger when you first make it, and when you refrigerate it, it's going to kind of set in a thicker but smaller amount, sort of. So, and it often looks like you're not making a lot. At least to me, it always does, because I never have enough of chocolate. So, but in reality, it's a fairly rich dish. I mean, it doesn't have extra sugar. It's just whatever sugar is in the chocolate. But it is, you know, pure eggs. So it is quite rich. So it always seems like you may be, you know, not having a lot. But once you've had a small serving of it, it's usually it's a nice way to finish your meal, and it's a good dessert. You probably feel full up after that. So I'm getting to the point where my mix is almost done. So I'm now, if I show you there, there's a few little white bits here and there. I don't know how much it shows on the camera, but there's all these little white bits. There's a bigger one here that's like a little lump of egg white. So I'm gonna squash these so that they don't spoil the mousse. And then we'll basically be done. So with the chocolate mousse, you need to have it refrigerated at least 4 hours. I'm making this for tomorrow night. It's perfectly okay to do it 24 hours, 48 hours in advance. It keeps as long as it's in the fridge. If you keep it in the fridge, you absolutely must cover it. Chocolate should never be left uncovered. Chocolate in any form actually should never be left uncovered in the refrigerator, because it takes any other taste or smell, as I guess, that are in the fridge. So if you have, I don't know, onion next to it, your chocolate mousse is going to taste of onion. So I'm actually going to divide mine into little ramekins. But if I was to leave it in this one, I would actually use cling film or something to cover it. Or I would move it to a container that has an actual lid to make sure that it's well covered. So here we go. I'm very happy with my mix. I'm going to actually clean up the spoon because there's always a little bit of chocolate left that needs to be added. And again, you really don't want to waste chocolate. So I'm going to mix that a little bit, and I'm going to rinse my fingers. I want to show what it looks like. So this is pretty much done. I'm quite happy with this. Let me just rinse my finger a little bit. It's only chocolate, so it's all good. There we go. So this is your chocolate mousse mix, and it's now ready to be refrigerated. So you can just leave it in this bowl. That's actually not it's a fairly nice bowl that I can serve. If I'm going to leave it in here, I like to clean the sides so that it looks better when you serve it. But what I do want to do, because I think these little ramekins are actually very good as a one serving size. They're glass also, which I prefer. So I'm actually going to divide my mousse in those so that each person can have one, and they all have a lid that I will use to put in the refrigerator. So I'm just going to put my serving in there. It's usually a good, probably 4 or 5 spoons, I imagine. So I'm leaving it, pretty full. I'm going to try not to spill too much right now. That's what I'm doing. But there you go. I did clean my fingers earlier before I started this. Right. If you don't have these little ramekins, you can use little bowls. I mean, any kind of little container that you have, you can use, obviously. Again, as long as you're able to cover this thing. Okay. This part is fairly repetitive, but if you're bored, you can always fast forward through this. It's the same idea every time. So you can see already it's very kind of airy. The mix really is how it should be. And as I'm making a mess, well, I'll clean them in the end. But this is it. I just want to kind of finish this so that you can see how much, what's the amount basically that you get with the quantities that I gave you. And I think it's probably going to make about 8 of these, maybe a bit less, I'm not sure. I don't remember the last time I used those for the mousse. There you go. There. A bit more on this one. There, so 6. May need to get a couple more. Oh. Okay. Okay, so I'm actually gonna make 8, and the rest is not gonna be really enough for another full one, I don't think. So I'm just gonna put it in a small little container, which will eat at a different time. So once I'm done with this, it's fairly simple. I'm just clean up a little bit the parts where I spilled when I tried to put the mousse in the containers. And I'm going to put the lid on, and they're going to go in the refrigerator, and they will be eaten tomorrow for dinner. Or, if we really can't wait, tonight, but you have to wait 4 hours minimum to make sure that it's done. And what I'll do when it's ready, I'll just take a picture so that you guys can see exactly what it looks like when it comes out, because it actually looks very liquid right now, but it will be a very thick mousse once it's been refrigerated. So it's going to be completely different from what it looks like now. It's actually going to look darker, and it's going to be a lot thicker. And that's it. That was it for the chocolate mousse. So I hope it works for you. Let me know, leave a comment, and thank you very much for being here.